Today, we're going to be talking about why neurodivergents who focus on perfectionism don't achieve the life they want and get the success that they deserve. And I'm going to start by talking a little bit about myself because I really wanted to make this video after having realized how bad perfectionism is for someone who's neurodivergent and wants to fit in and feel like they're good enough. I used to be the type of neurodivergent girly who was the biggest nerd in school, and I always wanted to make sure that my grades were perfect, my work had to be perfect. I was the type of person who, when I was in a group setting with people, I would do their work because I wasn't satisfied with how they did the work because I wanted the whole thing to be perfect. And I was kind of proud of myself. I was like, oh yeah, I am a perfectionist. Like, I would carry around the term perfectionist, the label perfectionist proudly. I'd be like, I'm a perfectionist. Give me a medal. And actually, ironically enough, on one of the last days of school, we had like a little ceremony where we all got like a medal that signified who we were. It's as kind of like a joke thing. And I ended up getting this year's know-it-all, and I took that so proudly. Of course, I had zero social cues, so I couldn't understand that it was so backhanded, but I was like, yeah, I'm this year's know-it-all. And honestly, bless my little heart and bless my little brain for not making me feel bad about being called that, because that was definitely something that I should have been like, wow, that is not good. Anyways, for many years, I believed that if my grades weren't perfect, if things were done perfect, then I couldn't relax. And it was something that was actually keeping me very much in a cycle of constant burnout because I was actually someone who constantly had to stay home from school because school was extremely overwhelming for me. I still got really good grades, and my school was actually very good at accommodating me. They didn't really challenge the way that I did my things because they understood that I was actually very good at contributing to the work that I did, and I was making sure that things were done well. I was creative, all of this. So they didn't really care that I was often just sitting at home and couldn't come to school for a couple days, which is a blessing. But at the same time, I also didn't understand the consequences of what being addicted to perfectionism actually did to me. And I know for a fact that there's this pressure of you feeling like you need to discover the world like there's a rule book, but there is no rule book. So in your head, you make up a rule book. And this rule book usually, I'm sorry to say it like this, sucks because this rule book is all based on things that are out of proportion, which usually is perfectionism. This is why a lot of neurodivergents end up doing, being addicted to getting really, really good grades. They want to perform a lot. They want to make sure that the work is done to perfection. In their head, when someone says, oh, that's perfect, that makes them feel like, okay, I've done enough. While in reality, you've done really, really good. So when other people think that's perfect, that actually means that's really, really good. And what neurodivergents see is, okay, I've done enough to be able to pass the barrier of what a decent human being needs to do. And because I was the firstborn daughter in the family of like the firstborn of everything, firstborn daughter, firstborn granddaughter, firstborn grandkid, obviously I had no one to make me reassured of how things were to be done. And at the same time, when you're around narcissistic people and when you're around people that want you to people please, you also get to think that, well, perfectionism is this thing I gotta live up to, because if not, then I'm not a good enough person because being nice doesn't cut it. I need to do more. And that's absolutely incredibly toxic, and I should have sniffed that out. But honestly, I'm blessed to be sitting here and having sniffed it out now. I am someone who for many, many years thought that the only way for me to get the results that I wanted in life, the good life, the life that would make me happy, and the life that would make me comfortable, was through perfectionism. But over and over again, me acting on this perfectionism actually made me so much more burned out than what it should be giving me. I thought it was going to be giving me like a nice life and stuff, but it was just going to give me more burnout because I was only trying to be a perfectionist because there was something inside of me that I felt wasn't enough. When you're a perfectionist, it usually has to do with you feeling that there's something inside of you that isn't enough, that there's something you got to live up to. And I'm not saying that you doing your best to get good grades and you doing your best to, do a good job is bad. That's not the same as perfectionism. Perfectionism is when you think you can reach a certain level of things being out of this world, perfect, great, amazing. That does not exist. Because let me tell you this, perfectionism does not exist. And that can be really hard for you to grasp as a neurodivergent. It definitely was for me because I thought perfectionism, that's all this is all about. And if I'm just perfect, then everyone should just treat me nicely because I'm perfect. But in reality, it was giving me the worst burnout ever recorded in the history of burnout. If burnout was a scale, I was like way up there. I was so sad, so unhappy, and I was really fueling this energy in myself that if I'm doing all of this good stuff, if I'm doing so much good stuff, I'm being so perfect, why am I not awarded? And it made me believe that, I was just destined to be around bad things because I'm making such an effort, but all I'm ever given is burnout. What I had to realize was when you're addicted to perfectionism, you're addicted to something that doesn't exist. And this is why a lot of neurodivergents end up being completely and utterly burnt out every single time they do stuff instead of actually being able to achieve what they want to achieve. I am the type of person, I really wanted to get healthier. I wanted to get hotter. I wanted to, be more successful, all of that stuff. And I thought the easiest way to do it is go cold turkey. And then tomorrow I'm starting my gym membership and I'm going to make a whole workout plan and I'm going to, find the inspiration pictures for the bubble butt on the internet and I'm gonna write down the plan that's perfect. I'm gonna research the plan that's perfect. I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna have to do this 2-hour workout regimen. And then when I come back, I'm gonna eat this high protein meal and this is how it's gonna go. And I have to do it for 7 days straight. And if I don't do it for 7 days straight, then bad, you are bad. And that's what happens when you strive for perfectionism or for these really unattainable goals is you can't build stamina, you can't build consistency because you set the level that you want to achieve that high that you are going to overwhelm yourself with the first step you take. One thing that I definitely learned as I grew older as a neurodivergent and I started doing things that made me more relaxed. I started living a more soft life. I started being able to sit back and I actually charged my feminine energy more, is that it's not about doing it perfectly. It's about getting things done. Instead of you focusing on going to the gym and then doing this 2-hour workout regimen and like eating a high protein meal and all of this and all of that, it's about saying, you know what, tomorrow I'm gonna go for a walk, or tomorrow I'm gonna go to the gym. I don't need to, join a class. I don't need to run 3 miles. I don't need to all of this. I'm just gonna go to the gym and see how it is. Try out some things. You have to set your expectations of yourself lower, but play it as if it's a thing you're just gonna explore. When you make it something that you want to explore instead of something that you have to achieve with perfectionism, you take off that pressure of trying to find a perfect way to do it. Because neurodivergents have a tendency to try to find a perfect way to do something. Even if something doesn't have a rule book, they're going to create an impossible rule book in their head because they want control, they want a schedule, they want people to tell them how things are done. And if things are not exactly cookie cutter, they're gonna freak out. They're gonna be like, I'm gonna need to create this perfect schedule in my head. And this perfect schedule is just a projection of this mindset you have in your head as a neurodivergent that says, I need to live up to these standards that are impossible. So I'm gonna set standards for myself that are impossible. because that means that I'm not going to be able to achieve it. And you know what happens then? Then you're going to prove yourself right that you're helpless and you can't do anything and you're probably no good. A lot of neurodivergents grow up believing that they are not good enough, they're not valuable enough, they can't contribute enough. And the way that they reinforce this mindset in their own heads is by setting boundaries, things they need to attain so high that when they try to attain it, if they don't attain it, then it's like, well, then I'm not good enough. Then I didn't do it right. Then I can't pass my own narrow idea of what it means to be a good person. I can't be good enough. And then you run around and recycle this guilt within yourself, this punishment within yourself, because you are used to being taken for granted. You're used to being punished usually by people in your life that are narcissistic or they want you to people please. So you actually try to make yourself people please yourself to a level that is unattainable, instead of people pleasing yourself by telling yourself you're doing a good job. And I don't mean sitting back, relaxing on your couch, telling yourself, I'm doing a good job, I don't need to change anything. No. I don't subscribe to that. I'm talking about the fact that you need to tell yourself, okay, I am good enough. Going to the gym today and trying out to see how it is being at the gym, that was good enough for today. Next time you go, you feel happy. You don't feel helpless. You don't feel like you need to live up to this idea of perfection, because you're not telling yourself that you need to live up to that idea of perfection. One thing that actually really taught me this lesson hard was when I started law school. I got into law school and I thought, I'm gonna become a lawyer. You know, I had really good credentials and things were, cookie cutter perfect for me to go to law school. And I got to law school and I got this overwhelming feeling that things were not really structured in a way that I could chew. I couldn't get myself in the zone of doing things right, because back in high school, things are pretty straightforward. Things are pretty, you got to do things this way, and this is the way to get an A. And if you know things by heart and all of this and all of that, like it's a little bit easier to know how to do things correctly. But then when you go to university, suddenly your professor can give you a C if you just wrote it in a way that they just didn't really like it, or the professors are not really going to tell you how to do the paper, but you're still going to have the paper due. That's something that absolutely freaked me out. And I actually dropped out pretty quick because I was so overwhelmed. I literally went into paralysis. I was like, this is not good for me. This is going to literally make me so zoned out. And I actually felt extremely helpless. I felt like I couldn't achieve anything. I felt like all of the work that I did was in vain, because if I can't perform right at law school, that means I can't perform good in anything. That was what I was telling me. And it actually took me down a slippery slope of a couple of years of feeling that I couldn't achieve things the right way. And I constantly sought out negativity and this idea of being a victim, that things were wrong and it should be because it's probably because of my neurodivergence. I remember I went to see my doctor, and my doctor told me, like, why are you constantly so freaked out? And I'm like, I don't know. I just want to make sure everything's perfect. Everything should be good. And I was constantly trying to tell my doctor, maybe it's because of my neurodivergence. Maybe it's because of my neurodivergence. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And I understand why my doctor was a little bit like, yeah, no, it's not that. And I was like, of course it's that. Of course it's that. I was trying to find a reason for why things were going wrong. I was trying to blame something outside of myself for why things were going wrong. While in reality, the thing that was going wrong is that I was punishing myself because I was holding myself to a level that was completely unattainable. I was not ready to let go of that grasp of perfectionism that I had had since childhood. That grasp of perfectionism that had kept me in this unrealistic bubble of safety that made me feel like if I did things perfectly, that meant I could feel safe. I was not ready to let go of that. And I think a lot of neurodivergents, when they go into adulthood and early adulthood, like young adults, going to college, all of this, all of that, suddenly they have to realize that things are not perfect. And this crushes them, and it actually sets them into this paralysis position where they don't feel like they can do anything. They feel like it either has to be completely perfect, or I'm not going to do it at all because I don't want to make myself feel bad for not being able to live up to the level of perfection that I instill in my own head. This was such a big wake-up call for me because I realized I am setting standards for myself that most people don't even set for other people in their lives. You know what's being a perfectionist actually set me up to be even more? It set me up to be a people pleaser, because when you are a perfectionist, it's because you are chasing something that you don't feel like is good enough within yourself. And when you don't feel like you're good enough within yourself, you're not enough, what you do isn't enough, then you're going to try to find external validation. And the easiest way to get external validation is to please people that want people to do stuff for them. This could be hanging around people, having friends that are secretly using you to make themselves feel better, that are secretly using you to, get them certain places. They're secretly using you to rub their own egos. Maybe you have a parent who's a narcissist, and this parent is always talking about how hard their life is, everything is going wrong, and you feel like in order for you to be good enough, you need to tell them, of course, I get you, I understand. This heightened sense of empathy you feel, and this people-pleasing thing that you develop because you're constantly trying to strive for perfectionism, makes it so that you're constantly trying to get validation from other people. You're constantly trying to get them to tell you that you're okay, but you will never actually feel okay, because first and foremost, you are going to get completely drained. You're going to get completely burned out by trying to cater to negative people, to narcissists who are going to take advantage of you, to people that don't actually care about how you're feeling. Second of all, you are going to feel like you're not whole, because instead of addressing the issues that you have within, you are trying to take care of someone else. And this is actually when a victim complex someone else carries around. This could be a narcissistic parent. This could be a friend you have. This could be other neurodivergent people that you spend time around because you think other neurodivergents mean that you're better together. If you spend a lot of time around people with a victim complex, because you want validation, you want to feel like you're doing good, then you're eventually going to end up developing a victim complex yourself. And I like to talk about victim complexes because they basically rule every single little thing that sets you back as a neurodivergent. When you have a victim complex as a neurodivergent, that's something you develop because you don't feel like you can do enough. You blame the world for putting you in this situation because in your head, logically, why are everything that you're doing never enough? Everything that you're doing is never good enough for everyone. You're never feeling happy. You're never feeling anything but a mild sense of relief after finishing stuff. And this stuff you're finishing is really, really big stuff. It's really, really big work. And you're constantly trying to ask people, am I doing something wrong? Did I say something wrong? Should I, tell me if I'm doing something wrong? Constantly putting yourself in a position where people can tell you that you're doing something wrong. And it's actually yourself telling yourself that you are wrong. You're telling yourself you are a victim of all of the circumstances around you because you're doing everything perfect, yet nothing is going right for you. That must mean that you're a victim of some sorts. And usually, when you have a victim complex, that usually stems from you being a child, experiencing victimhood, and then taking that with you to adulthood and feeling that I can't change things. And when you're a child and you're trying to go by your life, trying to pass your grades, trying to create a sense of comfort that you can create for yourself as a child, you're trying to control things in a world that has no control because you're a victim in that world when you're a child. Of course, you're going to have to seek out perfectionism. That's very normal. You're going to try to seek out these impossible standards because you want to feel okay, and maybe you're able to attain these standards to a certain level. When you grow up, you are no longer a child. You are no longer the victim of these conditions. You actually have autonomy over your own life. You can control your life. You can control how you move. You can control how you react to how you think. You can control what you do about the emotions that you have. Yet, when you're addicted to this idea of perfectionism that you've been addicted to for many years, and I'm telling you, when you're addicted to an emotion for many years, it's going to be a little hard to, just push away. You're gonna end up feeling that the whole world is against you because they set these incredible big expectations for you. Because in your head, the expectations you set for yourself are expectations that the world set for you. I realized that this was not true not that long ago because for many years, I had this idea that, I had to get perfect grades, and, I was in law school, and that was just not going right, and I felt so bad. I went to marketing school. First and foremost, it was online, which was definitely making me much more calm, much more at peace, and it made me be able to do things the way that I needed to do them. But at the same time, I had a mentor at my school who told me, "What are your issues?" And I said, "Well, I want more structure in my life. I feel like all of the assignments I get, they're not structured enough, and I don't know how to figure out how they're structured. I just want to make sure that I do it right. There must be a right way to do it." After having multiple conversations with my mentor over and over again, he was like, "You know what? I don't think your issue is about getting structure." And he knew I was neurodivergent because this is what I talked to him about, because I thought that my neurodivergence was causing these issues. He said, "You're just addicted to this idea of perfection that is unattainable. You dictate your success based on the level of perfection. And if there's no how to do it, if there's no way to structure it, you lose a little bit of way to feel good because you don't know exactly how to execute it. And you don't know exactly how to people please people, because you want to please the system so that you feel a mild sense of relief." And I was like, "Yeah, keep talking." And he was like, "Yeah, you feel an incredible sense of lust for perfection, basically. And it's setting you back." I had to realize this guy was right when I actually took an exam and it went absolutely not the way that I had hoped. I had put together everything and I had read the description of how to do this presentation that I needed to do. And then when I did the exam, the teachers were like, "Oh, this is not exactly what we were looking for." And you know what? I was devastated. I was like, and I was like stomping on the ground and letting my emotions take over way more than they needed to. And then I sat back and realized it's because I wanted it to be perfect. I still passed, so it's okay. I wanted it to be perfect. Perfect didn't exist. And because I didn't have perfectionism to lean against, me not doing a way that felt like the highest level felt like failure. What I want to say with this is, it is so much more important for you to go out and do things, go out, try things, go out, figure out how things work, what you like, what you don't like, than it is for you to strive for perfection. Because perfection makes you a victim. Perfection makes you seek out validation, and perfection makes you feel inadequate. Instead, when you set goals for yourself that are based on exploring things you want to get better at, say you want to go to the gym, you go to the gym and try it out. You can't expect yourself to go from 0 to 100 in one day. That's usually the level that neurodivergents want to go, because they don't feel like they're doing good enough unless they can go from 0 to 100. But the thing about learning and the thing about getting better at stuff, the thing about becoming more successful, the thing about becoming richer, even becoming hotter, say you want to upgrade your wardrobe, say you want to dress more feminine, say you want to become more spiritual and learn about yourself. It's about doing it. You shouldn't be sitting down and creating your whole dream life in one day. Your whole dream life is not going to manifest in one day. That's not how it exists. That's not how the world works. But you're going to have to sit down and tell yourself, "You know what? Today, I wrote in my journal and I looked at my emotions, but that was okay. Tomorrow, we're going to do it again. And maybe we don't, but we're going to see." This is going to make you much more prone to actually want to double back, because you feel happy instead of feeling nervous, instead of feeling burned out, instead of feeling stressed out about having to do stuff. You feel good about having the option of being able to explore something about yourself. I'm someone who I wanted to make sure that I had to have all my work done perfectly before I could do anything else. And I would sit up all night, and I wouldn't be able to go to bed, and I would mess up my sleep cycle. And when my mentor told me about the perfectionism thing, I tried to dial it back a bit, and I tried to just but instead of focusing on all of the things that I wasn't doing right, I was focusing on all of the things that I was doing right. Suddenly, my life changed, because instead of focusing on all the things I weren't doing perfect, I was focusing on all of the things that I actually was doing good. It could be something like, you know what? Today I actually worked out. It was an at-home workout. It was a 20-minute Pilates on the mat, and it wasn't high intensity, but I did work out. Today I actually ate healthy. It wasn't me counting all my macros, making sure that I got all the protein that I needed, but you know what? I didn't eat any added sugar. So that was pretty good. The more I took it in this approach, the more of a calmness I felt within me, because I was reaffirming to myself that I was good enough. What I was doing was good enough. That made me actually able to perform better, even better than ever before. Instead of me sitting down and refilming this YouTube video 30 times and making sure that the script is perfect, I actually have the script here beside me and I'm not even following it. I sat down and told myself, okay, well, you're gonna get burned out if you're trying to make this perfect, and perfect doesn't exist. Why do you feel that you need to be perfect when perfect doesn't exist? Let's just sit down and make a take of this video and then see where it goes. And if it doesn't go exactly as you wanted it to, that's fine. Sometimes it's just about getting it done. I actually felt that when I started my social medias. If I want to ever make the content that I feel like could actually have an impact on people and that actually could help out people just like me, I can't sit down and refilm every single little video over and over again and be like, that's not perfect and that's not right. I just need to put it out. Maybe it's a little embarrassing. Maybe I stutter. Maybe I'm not doing it completely like I created this idea in my head that it should be, but it's okay. Just putting it out there. When you start putting stuff out there, the universe is going to see that you're actually making moves. They're going to see that you're making an effort. It's like learning to do your makeup. Of course, it's not going to be perfect in the beginning, but you know what? You're going to feel kind of good about putting on lip gloss instead of just not doing anything for yourself. You're going to feel pretty good about maybe next day you wear mascara. Next day you wear mascara and lip gloss. One example that I always like to circle back to, and you guys, maybe you're going to hate me for this, but I love myself for this. We're going to have to talk about Batman. Think about someone like Batman. Batman, his parents were taken away from him in a dark alley one night, and Batman has a lot of struggles. Is the type of guy, he got a lot of issues going on for himself. He has a lot of trauma he's went through. But instead of him sitting at home and being in paralysis about what to do, he said, you know what? I'm gonna put on my little bat costume, my little Batmobile. I think that's his special interests or hyperfixation. And I'm gonna go and I'm gonna fight crime. I'm gonna just do something. And as he starts to do more and more, as he starts to Batman more and more, he gets better and better and better. And eventually he can actually start working a bit more on himself because he just put himself out there. It wasn't perfect. He just did it. No one's ever perfect. Perfectionism doesn't exist. People have flaws. The most successful people, the richest people have flaws, but they didn't let these flaws, they didn't let these imperfections keep them from becoming better and from keep them from getting to where they wanted to go. With having talked a little bit about my favorite guy, Batman, I love Batman, then I think we're gonna have to finish up this video. I hope you guys learned a little bit about why perfectionism actually sets you back from getting the success you want. Perfectionism isn't you. You are more than this absurd idea about perfectionism. I wholeheartedly believe you can achieve whatever it is you want to achieve, but you got to gentle parent yourself. You got to cater to that inner child and say, you know what, little me, you did a good job today. You actually went to the gym. That's a good key factor in you doing more for yourself. Instead of saying, well, you didn't do the 4-hour workout regimen. Now I'm gonna have to punish you. Are you gonna talk to your inner child like that? No, don't talk to your inner child like that. Your inner child will feel very bad about themselves. And the way you talk to your inner child or the way you talk to yourself is how you talk to your inner child. So don't tell yourself that you're disappointed in yourself, that you should punish yourself, that you're not doing good enough whenever you're doing something and it just doesn't turn out perfect, because you would never tell your own self as a child the same. You would never. And it's so important that you understand that you are good enough. And I believe that you can do what you need to do to get to where you want to go. That's what I want to say. Well, anyways, I hope you guys liked today's video and love you.